This is no, this is not decaf. This is instant coffee with hard milk, which is really not milk, and bullet bourbon and a little sugar. Any one of these things on their own isn't any good. But together, it's a masterpiece. L'chaim, l'chaim. How many times in your lifetime can you have a coffee like this? And be doing a mitzvah. L'chaim, l'chaim. Oh. Peter, you made the best coffee ever. It's not good. It's Gan Eden.
Wow.
It's Gan Eden good.
You gotta memorize that formula.
So good. You have no idea. This coffee Gaval. Peter, you're going to put Starbucks to shame.
Is this holiness? I want to
Peter. It's difficult compliment.
Peter is so humble, it makes no difference to him.
I have to try it.
You have to try it, but that's it.
You're doing good. Yeah. Barry. You're going to go on after one. We're just getting started. We're just Rush? You want to go on sooner? You want to go on sooner rather than later? When you're ready to go on, you'll come here.
Bye. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha.
Everybody.
L'chaim, l'chaim. So in the spirit of Purim, we have a Purim rabbi here. Everybody knows the Purim rabbi has a distinct role to play because the rabbi is usually serious. The rabbi is usually looks in the Torah and he says whatever is in the Torah. Maybe he interprets it a little bit. But on Purim, we want to just like kind of let loose a little bit. So not to say it isn't going to be serious. We have a big thinker in our shul who always, he embarrasses the rabbis because he asks the questions that we don't know the answers to. So usually we tell him, we don't know the answer. Barry, please have Rahmanas on us. But Purim, he gets to ask whatever he wants. We still won't know the answers, but it's Purim. So the fact that we don't know the answers, that's the whole point of Purim. Adelo Yada, it's about going out of not. It's about stopping to know everything that we think we know. So Barry, come on, sit next to me. You want to go around that way? And Barry Bloom's a dear friend of mine. He's a Harvard graduate, a top lawyer, very sensitive thinking. You guys don't go too far. Come pull the chair up as Barry just got his second shot. So he's almost immune. I already have my first shot, so I'm not as immune as he is, but I'm getting there. Baruch Hashem. Everybody go out and get signed up to get your if you're eligible, get signed up to get your vaccination. I have to say that especially here, even though it should be obvious, but unfortunately it isn't, because everybody here thinks they're top scientists, even though they know nothing about science for the most part, especially anyone who wants to get vaccinated that I've spoken to. 99% of them don't know anything at all. And for the 1%, you're the worst because you're convincing these 99%. So, unless you really know something, but so far, it's not been the case. Okay, Barry, say hello, introduce yourself, give us your credentials as the Purim Rav. I say he's the Purim Rav because he's perfect. He just is. You'll see why.
Well, Rabbi, thank you. First, when you suggested that I become the Purim Rabbi, I was completely nonplussed, surprised. What does this mean? What is this? What do you mean? Who is a Purim Rabbi? Who are those people talking?
Those are children. Children, you guys want to play in the hallway while Barry speaks because he's a serious man.
So, I appreciate your clarifying what a Purim Rabbi really is. And you said we're celebrating.
Barry, if you don't mind, they're pretty quiet.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
If they make a lot of noise, we'll take them out into the hallway. If not,
Well,
they
we
can
all
stay.
make noise.
A little noise. Okay, go on, Barry.
So, you clarified that a Purim Rabbi is just part of the celebration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're celebrating the miracle that happened supposedly, because we really don't know. And part of this
We don't know anything, Barry. We don't even know if you exist.
Well, that's true. That's true. So,
Right? I mean, come on. Do we really? Existence is a construct. It's a BS, basically. Right?
yeah, but let's focus
So
on.
I love the people who question things in history as if who are they that they even exist?
Right.
Okay, go on.
All right. So you said this is part of the celebration, right? We have a party.
This is the celebration. It's not part of the celebration. You are the celebration, Barry.
And you said that you could tell jokes. You relax, you tell jokes, you eat,
Exactly.
you sing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really not a comic. I'm not a joking guy.
funnier than
But
you
let
think.
me tell you, the first thing that I can tell you with defiant certainty is that it's no joke to be a rabbi.
Oh no.
A rabbi.
I guess I haven't become a rabbi yet.
A rabbi is a very important person. He is steeped in knowledge, Jewish knowledge. He's compassionate.
He's good.
He relates.
You're hired, Barry.
He relates to the congregation. He answers the questions that the congregants have, and even those that are unanswerable, he answers.
Okay, good. That's good, Barry.
And he's steeped in Jewish knowledge. So let me say first that the Carlbach Shul should be grateful that we have a rabbi like
Oh,
Naftali.
you're so sweet. Woo! I'm gonna make a l'chaim for that. That your bracha, if it isn't true, should become true. If it is true, I should realize it. L'chaim, 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 l'chaim.
So, look, I'm certainly not qualified to be a rabbi. I don't know what the
On Purim, you're
rabbi
overqualified.
is. But what I can try to do, as Rabbi Naftali suggested before, is to ask some questions that may bring a smile to your face and relate it to the Purim story.
Beautiful.
So, I'm at home with questions because I was really exposed to Socratic method. So let's consider some questions. I have 10 questions that I'd like to suggest.
Wow.
And the first question is one that actually King Ahasuerus was heard to say in a heavenly chat when someone mentioned Purim in the book of Esther. And his question was, are you kidding? Esther wrote a book?
Excellent, beautiful.
That's the first question. Second question is, who in fact did write the book of Esther? Who? There is Jewish thought that this is just fictitious, made up. We don't know who wrote it. Third question, and this is a current one too. Why didn't the women's rights lawyers group sue for damages after Queen Vashti was unceremoniously and illegally dethroned?
This is a good
That's an
one.
important question.
Very important.
Okay, we're up to the fourth question. And this is also current. Why weren't impeachment charges immediately brought against the authoritarian King Ahasuerus?
Well,
He was guilty. Everyone, I think, would agree
where was Pelosi when we
to
needed her?
that. Fifth question. We're going pretty quickly. Fifth question. Under what theory, what possible theory, could Esther, Queen Esther, possibly get the chief rabbi of Israel to confirm that her marriage to Ahasuerus is valid under Israeli law?
I thought you weren't going to ask any hard questions.
That's not a hard, these are not hard questions. Sixth question. Wouldn't even Republican senators like Cruz and Hawley condemn Ahasuerus for ordering the proclamation that all Jews, young and old, infants and women, be destroyed? We're up to the seventh question. I hope that you're making notes on these questions.
Well, I'm going to borrow your notes.
Now, is the leap to action to fight a wrong that Mordecai urged Esther to take in appealing to Ahasuerus an example of a core Jewish value? He said, you must do this. You must take a leap of action. Is that what Jews must do? That's the question. We're up to question 8. We're getting pretty quickly to the 10 questions. Do you think that Esther realized that the feast she was preparing for the king and Haman would be a strategy followed by successful politicians to achieve diplomatic victories? And I'm referring to Ms. Thomas Greenfield, who was the newly appointed U.S. ambassador to the UN, who said that diplomacy is driven by relationships and talking about difficult topics while chopping onions for a gumbo sauce. This can break barriers and foster success. This is the gumbo Jewish Purim diplomacy. And Esther started it. She had this feast. She was going to fight Haman. You remember that?
No, there's a lot of little.
Do you know anything about the Megillah?
He's learning.
Okay. Well, that's
It's never too late.
that's in the Megillah.
That's what your job as a rabbi is, to educate us.
Okay, we're up to the 9th question. Although the Jews were saved, this story is about the miracle of Jews being saved, right? Should the International Court of Justice now take action to prosecute the heir, offspring of the Jews who killed 75,000 people, including the 10 sons of Haman on the gallows? Do we support an eye for an eye? Now here's the 10th question. Should we write the book of Mordecai to advocate as he did for peace to all his offspring, but also include all people, no matter their religion or belief? Those are the 10 questions, but as a coda to this, and as a joke, I want to read very quickly the classic two-liner poem by Robert Frost, the great American poet. And his poem goes like this. Forgive, O Lord, my little jokes on thee, and I'll forgive thy great big one on me. As a final closing thought, Rabbi Naftali, I'd like to say what Sarah Horowitz, who was a young author, wrote in her recent book entitled Here All Along, Finding Meaning, Spirituality, and a Deeper Connection to Life in Judaism. And she wrote the following. We should assume and not interrupt people, as some people who walk into the shul do. We should assume that each holiday has something profound to teach us, something that will touch our souls and transform our lives. But we need to put some effort into finding it. We need to keep digging, learning, and interpreting until we unearth the beating heart meaning of these holidays. And we need and we need to celebrate them in ways that bring those meanings to life so that their lessons stay with us. Sometimes all it takes is a well-placed banana.
That's definitely Purim Torah, whatever that means. Barry?
So that's that is
Barry Gold, your Purim questions are just out of this world. They're so geschmack. You know what geschmack is?
no, but
Geschmack is like when it's like 10 degrees in New York and you go to like, where's that? Where did Ted Cruz go?
we
Cancun.
went to Cancun, yeah.
And you get a special. You get a half price at the Ritz-Carlton. He got caught.
Right.
Let me take a look at your notes. Do you mind?
Well, I'm not even reading it.
You're not a doctor, you're a lawyer. I could read them. let's do a song, and then we're gonna answer some of Barry's questions. Barry, that was great. Give a big hand of applause for Barry. And now we're gonna do a song. Okay. So Levi and Nachshon, Levi and Barry are going to do a song. Then we're going to respond to Barry. Shkoya. Levi and Nachshon. Yehuda. L'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim, Yehudullah.
What a treat.
L'chaim is so special to
L'chaim,
have you here.
Oh my God. So good to have
Isaac.
a little Purim. Little real Purim.
Yeah.
L'chaim, Isaac.
Can I know a lot of nachas?
Yeah.
L'chaim, Ayan.
Amen. Ayan.
L'chaim.
How are you? Hello.
I like that. Know who not to talk to.
Not to
Let them
like.
train your kids.
Hear yourself this one.
Cutest to do that.
Yeah, okay.
I had an interesting biblical
Jacob, you want to
question
say
that
hi?
came to my
Maybe you want
mind.
to say hi to Jacob? This is Jacob.
Barry, they think just because you have questions, they also get to ask questions. He's the designated Purim rabbi. We'll let you get one in. You know, you got 10, you get
Answer
one.
for the questions.
Yeah, that's Mama Shana.
This is not Asher. Asher, say hi to
Not sure. We love. What are you dressed up as?
What's up, as?
A dinosaur. What type of dinosaur? The tail. Are you a Tyrannosaurus Rex? A T-Rex. You're a T-Rex.
Show your favorite dino?
And they're also the scariest.
Are they the scariest? Show us how scary dino is. How scary is T-Rex? Roar.
You could do it. You could do it. So let's Barry.
I don't know if you can read.
I could read it. Okay. Yeah, a lot of times our wives surprise us, right? That's number one. Like that was kind of funny when Achashverosh
That's not true.
was asked to hand was asked in the heavenly chat. Are you kidding? Esther wrote a book. Okay, good. You know, one of the things about a marriage and the problem with being married is you get to know each other. So at a certain point, you get to know each other, and like everyone has character traits that are gonna day in, day out wear on another person who's with them all the time. And we assume that we know who that person is. But the secret to marriage is to like constantly have a chiddush in somebody you think you know. Chiddush means something new, like, oh, well, like they said something, they did something, and they like surprised you in a good way. Sometimes in a bad way, but like, so that's the answer to your first question. It's like, I blessed you, like maybe that was the chiddush of Esther's, that she surprised everyone, including Achashverosh. That's why he chose her. So it's a beautiful question. My answers may not be as beautiful as the questions. The questions are magnificent, so I give them cover. I think there was a Kalbachim style retreat every year called Ruach. And you know how a lot of these retreats have at a Friday night after everyone's finished with the Seudah, they have questions and answers. Well, at Ruach, they had questions and questions.
One question.
It was a tribute to that. Yeah. So number two, who did write the book of Esther? So on a simple level, it's definitely Esther, right? And not only that, it's not enough to write a book, it has to be published. And I don't mean the publishing press, like they didn't have a press back then. It had to be authorized. So she wrote Kisvuni the Doros. She had to go into a male world of the, like kind of the rabbinical world and petition that they, as hard as it is to write a book, it's even harder to get people to canonize it. Right, to make it, and there was only one book, by the way, that didn't make it. Of all of the Tanakh that we have, only one fragment of one book, or Megillah, didn't make it. That was Megillah Esther, because it was very controversial. It doesn't have a mention of God's name. So the rabbis accepted it, but whoever the group that wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls that were related to us, that were the same as us, but not exactly 100% like today, you know, there's different. We're all the same, but we're not all the same, you know? So they didn't have it. It's not an accident. Number three, why didn't the women's rights lawyers sue for damages after Queen Vashti was unceremoniously and illegally dethroned? Barry, it's because people like you weren't there. And that's to give a bracha to the women's rights movement that have gone so far, just in like double my lifetime, triple my lifetime, But there were women before that, they were fighting before that for many, 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 many lifetimes. So, a bracha b'atzlacha to women all over the world, and for women's rights.
Amen.
The main thing is that men are wrong, and women are right. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Chaim.
Yeah. Okay, they're not always right.
No.
They're mostly right. They're mostly right.
Purim.
Right. Is the right or wrong in Purim?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 4. Why weren't impeachment charges brought against Achashverosh? The answer is you know more about the Constitution, and I want to give a bracha for the United States of America and for our Constitution and our for system of government that I don't have to get into it. It's a miracle that it's still working. It's a miracle. You have no idea. You have no idea. By the way, we don't know if it'll go on forever and ever. We don't know. But bracha, v'hatzlacha, thank you for the Constitution, and for the United States of America, Medina Shel Chesed, and hopefully, if something goes wrong, it will right itself. And we need 2 parties. We need a Republican Party and a bracha to the Republican Party that they should have a refuah shlema b'karet, and a bracha to the Democratic Party. They should also have a refuah shlema b'karet.
Amen.
And a bracha for all the Yidden who think they're a Democrat or Republican, that's important. A bracha to you also. Chaim. Okay, so number 5. Barry, you with me?
Yeah, with you.
Under what theory could Esther possibly be the chief rabbi?
Under what theory could the rabbi say that
Could they confirm the marriage? So the rabbis really had a very hard time with this, And here's the beauty of the story of Achashverosh. Listen, if you want to know the beauty of Achashverosh, she wasn't accepted by the rabbis, but we wouldn't be alive without her. Does that make any sense to you? If you're looking for acceptance and to do something in the world at the same time, you might be looking at Achashverosh, Esther, the rabbis. It's telling you something that it's not always about being accepted. You think she would have gotten a good shidduch after Achashverosh passed away? She's almana. Who was her husband? Achashverosh. We're not interested in her, right? But at the same time, the rabbis understood that she needs her own Megillah. So the rabbis, it's a conflict within the rabbinical literature. So much so that there's a Gemara that says Esther Karka Olam. She's not responsible for what happened between her and Achashverosh because she's just like the earth to the ground. She didn't act. It's a whole other thing in halacha about ones and a relationship which has which is coercive. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But it's a brilliant question. And number 6, would even the Republican Senate, led by Cruz and Hawley, God forbid, should ever happen, condemn Achashverosh, because then we'd all be going to Acapulco.
For the proclamation to kill the Jews.
Yeah, would they? Yes, of course. I think even the most right-wing Senate Republicans who trampled on the Constitution, and I condemn them for it, and may have had to do with the uprising or not, such as Ted Cruz and Hawley, definitely big troublemakers. I still don't think that they in their wildest dreams would go along with something like what Achashverosh had in mind for us. So that, thank God, is when we complain about the things that are not the way they should be, there's still so much better. So yes, and I'm not a big Trump chassid, but I still object to people calling him a Nazi, because we have to know that you could be wrong in something, but you're still not a Nazi. We have to be sensitive to that. I don't have to like Ted Cruz, but I could still say that I think he would have stuck up for us. It's hard to say it, but I'm going to say it. I think he would have condemned it if he, if they had the ability to condemn it. Number 7.
Maybe hard to read.
Yeah, is the leap to action
Oh, right.
to fight a wrong, that Mordechai urged Esther to take to fight a wrong and appealing to Achashverosh, an example of the core of Jewish values. Absolutely. Part of Judaism is that we do believe that Asher bara Elokim la'asot. The Targum says that God created to do is the sakein. Sure. Oh, I didn't hear them. That God gave us the world to be partners in creation to fix what's wrong. So we don't believe that we just let things happen without interceding. If we have an opportunity to do something to fix something, we fix it. Number 8.
Put it along with the same
It's similar, yeah, some level. Number 8. Do you think that Esther realized?
Right, this is the,
You read it. That's a long one. I'll reload over here.
Esther prepared a feast.
Yeah,
She
she
was
did.
going to invite Haman and Achashverosh to come to the feast.
Yeah.
And she wanted to present her position to Achashverosh. And my question
Yeah.
is that did she realize that having food and talking over food is
Food
a
and drink.
strategy to achieve diplomatic success? And
Beautiful.
today, this woman who was just appointed as the ambassador to the UN said that she has achieved many diplomatic successes
Beautiful.
over food.
Beautiful. The answer is that's why we have we have a day of Mishta v'Simcha. We have a day of feasting and drinking because not only was the decree of Haman that Achashverosh agreed with sealed over a Mishta, over a drink, over a feast, but the undoing of that was also done through the feast of Esther that Esther made for Mordechai and Haman. So yes, the answer is when you drink, it could lead to terrible things. But if you drink with the right people in the right way, it could lead to wonderful things. So it's all about who you're with and the right connection. So are you going to have a drink and then the next day you're engaged, or are you going to have you're going to have a drink? It's also maybe not a good idea. What happened last night? You asked me to marry you. But maybe in a good way. Maybe, like someone would say, why do you make Kiddush on wine and not on 7-Up or something? He says, or why do you get married over wine and not on 7-Up? He says, because if you're marrying somebody and somebody said, what do they like? They like 7-Up or orange juice. You have to be a little crazy over them like wine. So Barry, that's a little bit, thank you. L'chaim. Libation.
Right? So we're doing when we drink, you should imagine we're pouring the wine under the bath.
Beautiful.
Do
I think
you
it's
the
important.
Exodus from Egypt would have been different if Pharaoh and Moses sat down and had dinner?
That's why we have this holiday. There's that holiday and there's this holiday. They each respectively have their place. Yeah. So number 9, I've never heard it exactly like that, but a lot of people have problems with the Megillah because a liberal sensitivity and killing your enemies just don't go together. But the simple answer is I never had a problem with it because it actually, if you read the Megillah closely, and I believe that most people who have the issue with it didn't actually really read the Megillah closely, it says that the king can't just undo. They wanted him to undo the decree. That's what they wanted, which would have made it was not allowed for the people who hated the Jews to kill them. That would have been perfect, right? That would have been the story you would have liked to hear. The decree was undone, and everyone lived happily ever after. But the king said, I can't undo the decree. I can make another decree that says that the Jews will be able to defend themselves and will support the Jews in defending themselves, but not that the enemies of the Jews can't attack the Jews. So they're both true. The enemies of the Jews can still attack them. The only thing is the government will support the Jews' defense of themselves. So if you read it like that, which is in the text itself, the Jews only defended themselves and killed all these people in the process, including the 10 sons of Haman, who allegedly didn't back down, right? Because we say, B'nai Banav Shel Haman lamdu Torah b'Bnei Brak. The grandchildren of Haman were Torah scholars. What does that mean? They understood what was right. They learned what was right, and they converted and became Jews. That didn't happen for everyone. People still hated the Jews and were willing to risk their lives. And they, thank God, lost in that battle. Number 10, should we write the book of Mordechai to advocate as he did for peace to all of his offsprings, but also to all people, no matter their religion or beliefs? And should we rewrite? Should we be including the world when we say peace for all of somebody's offsprings? Why do we limit it, so to speak? And the answer is very simple. When I bless my family, I'm acknowledging that it's my family. So it doesn't mean like every time I see one of my children, I say, you're just part of the world. You're just part of like everyone else, and the world should be well. Your children, your family, your community needs your specific support. So, if they have it, then God willing, ultimately, the world will also be at peace. L'chaim and Barry, for your amazing, beautiful question. So stunning, so beautiful. We're honored that Barry was at Purim Rebbe. Full of compassion, full of sensitivity, full of humanity. It came through in your questions, and we do wish Al Kol Yoshvei Sevel, on all of those dwellers on earth, on dry land, and in the sea, those in the spaceships even, should have peace. Al Kol HaOlam. Fine.
The most important thing is the last sentence.
And Barry, this is the line.
The last sentence. Got a banana.
I don't know what that means. Sometimes all it takes is a well-placed banana.
Right.
I didn't get it. Either I'm innocent or I'm not. Barry,
Talking about something else.
okay, later.
Amen.
met lady before, right?
I'll just share a little story before.
Quick call up.
This little thing
Yes.
that I learned, what I was thinking about, why is it that we have this mitzvah of Mishloach Mana?
Right?
Which
And that's
mitzvah?
what you need.
What does mitzvah mean? I'm sorry.
The mitzvah, the
A commandment of giving food
No, no,
gifts today
requirement.
and charity.
Today.
Yeah.
Today there's a requirement to give gifts to the poor.
Anybody want to get some more food?
And,
Must be hungry.
He's sharing a cooked Torah.
yeah, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Why
If you want to share a Torah, come out over
You
here.
gotta come to. You gotta talk to the people.
Sharing has to happen on the camera.
Saying something they can't see you.
I'm saying L'chaim.
Say L'chaim and say something on this side. Call up Pashat Yad.
No, except for kids. Kids can say no. Bayan, L'chaim.
L'chaim Bayan.
L'chaim. Wanna come say hi?
That's a dinosaur.
Take care. L'chaim, brother. L'chaim.
I am.
Hi.
Yeah, so I was saying,
Sorry, there's dinosaurs. They're good dinosaurs.
it's so unique how we have this mitzvah of Matanot Levyonim today. Where there's really no other holiday where the explicit mitzvah is something that's Ben Adam L'Chavero. And one of the things I think you can learn from that is that this mitzvah that is very much a Ben Adam L'Chavero mitzvah teaches us to find the hiddenness, the hidden light in every single person in the world, to find their Tzelem Elohim, and that every time we give tzedakah on Purim or any day, we are finding a way to see the humanity in every single person, and to treat every single person with equity and respect. And so, B'ezrat Hashem, we can find that divine light that exudes from every single being on this planet and from the planet itself. And that is what we need to do on Purim, because it's the day of hiddenness of Hashem. The hiddenness of Hashem doesn't appear in the Megillah. We need to find that hiddenness today. L'chaim.
Very nice, very nice.
Thanks.
My Yudim.
Yeah.
Good place for Hasidus. More than that, also, if you do halacha here, also the next secret. He knows about it. And may have been in the school. It's for real. Yeah. It's not bad advertising. It's kind of just guys already have something. When you're done, call me. To make post-it. Next level up. Just focus on real things that happen today. You need to already know the basics before you really focus on today. If you only focus on today, you're not going to get the chorus. But that's, besides the Hasidus, you can come here, you'll get that. It's a good compliment to what you're doing.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so come, let's stay connected.
I could give you my phone number.
Yeah, but do that. Just be in touch. Come back. You can do that.
Yeah.
Just come back here. We're here, and then we'll get connected after. Yeah. You'll get. These guys are all my contact info. So let's stay in touch. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so I try to like after the house.
Okay, great. That's it.
We're like a little bit more. Me and my wife are like very COVID safe, so.
Yeah. Things are. Check us. Join us. I have a Wednesday night share on Zoom. Talk to me about this Zohar share. You join for that. Then we have whatever other things going on online. Like this is all online. We're just here for the online community. So, okay, good. Okay, we'll be in touch. I'm going to get back to my phone radio over here. Come, get a little more food. We have a lot of it. You ate? So maybe Purim, we're trying to do a little bit of Machias Amalek. And we think that wiping out of Amalek is always through a sword or a knife or a gun or a sharp word. Power, vengeance, violence. But there's a story of the great Rebbe David Dinas. One Purim, he got word, maybe through a spy, maybe through Shemayim, that the local peasants farming for grub
for the night of the Seder. And he heard that on Purim itself there'd be a gathering just outside of dinner in the Kretschmer and an inn to lay the groundworks of the terrible massacre, God forbid, should never happen. And there he was, doing his Purim Seudah, with all his Hasidim, especially with all his musicians. Levi was there. Nachman was there. And Yehuda was there. It was like Mashiach had already come to dinner. All the holy Yidden in dinner. Sitting by the Purim Seudah, shining, and eating and drinking, sharing and giving, so beautiful and pure. And if David and Dinah, the Haley ever said, just Hasidim, who wants to do, who's ready? Mechias Amalek, destroy Amalek. Everyone raise their hand. Everyone got it. I'm ready to do Mechias Amalek. Rebbe, what do we have to do Mechias Amalek? Strong hand. The Rebbe said, if you're ready to do Mechias Amalek, hitch the horses to the wagon and come with me. All the musicians piled into the wagons, and they were still singing the whole way. What a ride, what a beautiful, like all the ride. Now you put on the radio in the car, but then you had to have musicians go along with you wherever you went, especially on Purim. And they arrive at the Kretschmer just a little bit outside of the town of Dinah. The musicians still come in, everyone with a guitar, the flute, and the drums in their hands. As soon as they come in, the Rebbe says, hello. The Rebbe was shining like an angel, no, maybe even higher than an angel. These peasants never saw anything like it, and they were in awe of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe told the musicians, please start. And the musicians started playing, and then the Rebbe told the Chassidim, please dance. Bum, 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 bum. And then the Rebbe said, everyone danced. The peasants and the Hasidim were dancing together. It said Mashiach had come. And they were dancing and feel like forever. And then the Rebbe said, okay. And everyone stopped dancing. And everyone sat down. And by now, not only had the Rebbe broken the ice, the Rebbe had made such a deep connection to these peasants. These, up until a few minutes ago, anti-Semitic peasants were plotting a pogrom. The Rebbe said, I heard there's someone here who hates us. You know, you could hate a concept when you see the people in front of you and they're human beings just like you. It's so much harder to hate them. And when you see the holiness, it's even that much harder. All of a sudden the peasant said, I don't know. We don't hate you. Maybe somebody we know hates you.
they're not here. I don't know. Who is it that hates you? I don't know. We don't know. So the Rebbe said, so you don't hate us. And, you know, maybe it was a little lie, but maybe it was true already that at that moment the hate lifted up. And they said, no, we don't hate you. So the Rebbe said, so if you don't hate us, can we be friends? And they said, yeah, we can be friends. You seem like very nice people. And the Rebbe continued, pulling out this connection, pulling out this love. Till those who just a little while ago hated one another, especially the Mamash hated us, were willing God to hurt us. You know, you're like brothers to us. You're like our friends. You're our friends to us. So the Rebbe said, if we are your friends and we're like brothers to you, can you swear to me that you won't stop being our friends? It took them a little bit of time, you know. They're like, what are we going to do now? We had a plan. But they said, we swear to you, Rebbe. We swear to you, Rebbe, that we'll always be your friends. We'll never hurt you. And that is Mole. Without lifting a sword, without lifting a finger. Rebbe is Mole. Love you.
So L'chaim, Avid Purim, I want to take a moment and thank Reb Naftali, thank the Kabbalah Shul, thank Reb Shlomo, Reb Elichaim, and their father that have paved Reb Naftali, the original Naftali, that have paved this path for now. Ask L'chaim on this Kippurim, this Purim, Yom Kippur is just like today. So on this serious day of joy and Simcha Paretz Geder, I put a prayer for all those affiliated with the shul, all those that are here, all the elders, all the youth, all the children, all those that are dancing to be born, all the husbands, all the wives, like all the L'chaims that Naftali said before. I hope all of humanity and all of the human family and all of this earth family and the heavenly families are all meyachad today in unity through our joy, and that we shake up a little bit the heavenly chambers. Last year Purim went on a wrong turn, and we're davening in this moment that this is a moment of breakthrough of an ahapachu, turning it over into joining in celebration and the ways of this shul has always done for Am Yisrael. L'chaim, Reb Naftali, bracha v'atzlacha. Thank you for always calling on me. It's humbling always.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, lady. You're so beautiful. And Nachman, thank you for doing that. That was just, took me and hopefully everyone who wanted to be there right along with us, along with you. It's a beautiful place. You know, the whole year we're kind of holding on, like, I'm going to do the Daf Hayomi. And it's great, by the way. But you know, they say, Tachlis Yediyah Shelo Neda. The purpose of knowledge is the unknowing. You know, Tzaddik HaKon of Lublin, arguably one of the greatest scholars who ever lived, just in the amount of knowledge. And he says, Mamish, the purpose of all of this knowing is to not know. You have to learn all of the Torah to begin to realize you don't begin to understand one tiny piece of it. Now, so what do you mean? Like, I don't know anything, and I didn't have to learn much to not know that. Because that's simply amaratzis, which means you just never learned. Which is fine too. But even better is to learn. And at the beginning, you know, when you're learning, what happens to Yeshiva Bacher, the learning, saying, how many more daf do I need to learn till I know Shas? And then, what do I have to do to become a gadol, you know? So, like, still till today, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's part of the learning process is to, like, think about what it is that you can be. Like, you have to have an ego in learning. You have to have an ego in knowledge. No, knowledge needs ego. You think you'd have a doctor? You think you'd have a scientist without ego? You wouldn't have it. You'd be sitting like hippies without anyone to heal us. Coronavirus would not go away. It'll never go away. It'll never end. Nice, you know, you get a little high, everything's good. No, everything's not good. Right? So you need people with ego. But you might think, okay, if you need ego, maybe that's the whole thing. It's just about, you know, knowledge is power. Because you could make an atomic bomb, which gives you real power, right? But you could also cure cancer. And we're on the way, you know, on the way. And so many things. But that's where Torah goes a little bit different than just knowledge. It doesn't have to be. It could be the same. It could be the same. But it could also be Tachlis Yediyah Shelo Neda. We say about God, the ultimate acknowledgement of what God is the unknowing, the not being able to kind of say, this is God, I understand God, because God is beyond comprehension. But since the Torah is the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's God's Torah, and it's connected to Him. So the real relationship with Torah is the unknowing. And that's begalui, that's revealed on Torah. It's revealed on Torah. when I was in a very sweet yeshiva and had a very sweet rebbeim, they weren't Hasidim, but they were good Jews. They were just Rabbi Goldenberg and Rabbi Krauss in the 7th and 8th grade of Torah Emes in Los Angeles. It's a good school. It's solid. They helped me in my learning and my Gemara. But one of them had a question. I think was if it was one of those two, or maybe it was Rabbi. It might have been another one of the rebbeim. And they said, I think it was Rabbi Krauss, asked the question. He said, we know that the learning, that the world is only established because of Torah. But if on Purim, this is assuming you don't have like time zones, it's a good question. The time zones answers the question, but let's just forget about that. We have different time zones. He said, if on Purim, everyone is for a moment shikr, drunk, so no one's learning. I don't remember the answer, but he really bothered him. Sweet. He said, how could it be that the world continues to exist? It was a real question. At that time, it was a serious question. I didn't have the answer. I'm like, I don't know. I said, but it doesn't bother me. We're doing just fine. There's time zones. Somebody's learning somewhere. And he had an answer. Maybe his answer was I don't remember the answer. The question was like, whatever the answer was, but the question was like bigger than the answer. He built up the question, and then I don't remember what the answer was. So what's the answer, Doug? The answer is Tachlis Yiddish Lo Neda. You're learning a whole year
to know that you don't
to
know.
know that you don't know. And you only know that on Purim. Right, that's what it means. And what's the ultimate? Everyone knows. If there's anything that's known, is Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. It says Mechias Amalek. And we're the Am HaNivcher, right? That's the one thing we all know. And comes Purim, it says, Chayiv Inish L'Psume Bepuria Adla Yada Ben Baruch Mordechai Ar Haman. On Purim, we go to the level where you don't know that anymore. Difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. Meaning it's really no ego. No ego to the point that you're not
before Tavara, before the Chet.
It's before the Chet. There's no Eitz Hadas.
Only it's a Chaim.
So it's only Eitz Chaim. So the answer maybe is that the whole year we're learning to be able to have the Eitz Chaim. If you're not an Eitz Chaim, you need to be an Eitz Hadas. Because then you're nowhere. You're dead. You're not alive, and you don't know, so you're always dead, right?
No, that's.
Now the whole learning makes sense, right? Why we do learn. The question why we learn so much, we really people with both. People of magic. Why
Yeah, but like you say, you can make a l'chaim in a minute. But Amaratzis, not to know because you're Amaretz doesn't count. Meaning it doesn't. Right. It's not the unknowing. Yeah. Isn't simply because you don't know anything. Right. That's that.
Well, the Baal Shem, that's also.
Okay, so the Baal Shem Tov says. So maybe the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that really the unknowing is so deep that you don't never even have to know anything.
Right. Exactly.
That was the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov, but after that, you hear that was the chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov, which was, but the Hasidim themselves rejected the Baal Shem Tov in that respect.
Yeah, because they didn't understand.
They're not holding there yet.
Right. That's what he meant. He said, no, that's what he tried.
You make a l'chaim,
Chaim Yisrael Baruch.
The best.
To the best of us.
The best of the best.
Friend of mine,
Amen.
Chaim. What are you saying, Bob?
Can I share with you, Rabbi, something?
Sure.
He said to me, the line, love your fellow man as yourself.
Yeah.
He said everything else in the Torah after that is commentary.
That's right.
That's the main essence of it.
That's it.
We love, we come together, share joy.
That's Rabbi Akiva, that's Hillel, that's Zek Klal Gadol B'Torah. This is everything. This is the principle that everything is just a detail to explain. if it doesn't somehow connect back to it, then you're not getting
You're
it.
missing it.
Yeah. So I want to bless everyone. It's Friday. I would go on forever. Lady has to get back and do another gig already. No, because people have to do Matanas Lagyonim and all that. This is the ultimate of knowing and not knowing on the same day. Thank you, Nachman, because today it's Friday to Erev Shabbos, and we have to go beyond, but do it quickly. On time. Do it on time. So thank you, everyone. Love you all.
Thank you,
And I know this is hopefully the last Purim that we're going to be mostly virtual. We had many more people watching us on Zoom than were here in the shul last night and today, and that's just the way it is. But Baruch Hashem, please get your vaccination. Let me know if you have any questions, because I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that all of the doctors I talk to are urging everyone to get their vaccinations, and anyone I talk to that's questioning the vaccination, it's usually because they're getting misinformation 99% of the time. So, Adla Yada. Good Purim, everyone.
That's the best one on this one.
The answer is just Adla Yada. See what you gotta do.